All right, let's jump right in. For decades, the whole conversation around UFOs has been this wild mix of government secrets, eyewitness stories, and, well, a ton of speculation. But today, we're diving into a really specific and pretty provocative argument that the biggest thing stopping us from making contact isn't technology or light years of space, it's a carefully built campaign of fear.
The source material we're looking at today really hinges on this one powerful idea, summed up perfectly here. Fear is the mind killer. And according to this perspective, fear isn't just some random emotion. No, it's a weapon, a tool being used to shape our entire view of contact and whatever or whoever is out there.
So what's the point of this so-called black hole of disinformation? Well, according to the argument, it's not just random static. It's a targeted campaign with a very specific goal: to make humanity so terrified that we never actually achieve peaceful, direct contact with any ET civilizations.
Now, that is a huge claim, right? So what in the world is this disinformation black hole? Let's really break down what the source material is talking about here.
This isn't just about a few fake articles online. Think of it more like a gravitational pull. The source describes this as a dominant, fear-based way of thinking that's so powerful it just sucks everything in, the public, the media, even governments, and conditions all of us to see any potential contact as a massive threat.
So how do you build a narrative like that? Well, according to this argument, the tools are hiding in plain sight. All those scary Hollywood blockbusters, stories of staged abductions, and the constant promotion of myths about evil greys or reptilians. The whole point, it's claimed, is to hammer home one single idea: they are a threat.
Okay, so why go to all this trouble just to make us afraid? From this viewpoint, it's because fear is the single most effective barrier to any kind of real, genuine contact. Let's dig into how that connection is made. And here it is. This is the absolute linchpin of the whole idea. The source argues that real ET civilizations aren't hostile. In fact, they're said to be so tuned into consciousness that when they encounter raw fear or hostility from us, they just back away. Our own fear literally becomes a repellent.
And this quote, wow, it just nails the point. It comes from a story about a team that allegedly made contact with a massive craft back in '92. But when one person on the team just freaked out, the craft reportedly just stopped in its tracks and then left. The idea is that our fear sabotages the very thing we might be looking for.
Okay, so if we're swimming in all this deception, how on earth are you supposed to tell what's real from what's man-made? Well, the source material offers a kind of field guide, starting with a crucial distinction between two different types of craft. All right, so here's the breakdown they offer. On one side, you've got the man-made stuff, the ARVs, with seams, rivets, and those familiar shapes like the tic-tac. But on the other, you have what are called true extraterrestrial vehicles, ETVs, which are described as totally seamless, no visible parts. But the real kicker, the biggest difference according to this argument, the genuine ETVs are responsive to your consciousness.
And that distinction leads to a claim that is, honestly, it's pretty mind-blowing. The source says that a conservative estimate is that 80%, yeah, you heard that right, 80%, of all the UFOs or UAPs we see today are actually these man-made crafts, not extraterrestrial at all.
But look, it's not all doom and gloom. Faced with this alleged web of deception, the source doesn't just leave us hanging. It actually proposes a solution, a way for everyday citizens to take the lead. It's called the CD5 Contact Protocol, and you can basically think of it as citizen diplomacy, a way for regular people to get together, bypass all the official fear-mongering, and proactively reach out on behalf of humanity in a peaceful way.
So, how does it actually work? Well, the first steps are all internal. It starts with a cosmic detox, getting rid of all that fear and prejudice we've been taught. From there, it's about building a team and using a peaceful, focused state of consciousness as the main tool to actually guide a craft in for peaceful contact. Your mindset is the method. This all builds to what's presented as the final, bottom-line choice for all of us. This isn't just some interesting theory. The source frames it as the most critical decision humanity has in front of it. But why? Why go through all this trouble? Well, the argument boils down to one thing: money. A lot of it. The source claims a number that's hard to even wrap your head around, up to $2,000 trillion in assets all tied up in our current energy, financial, and industrial systems. That, it's argued, is the real reason for keeping all this under lock and key.
So at the end of the day, it's all laid out as two very different futures for humanity. There's the path of fear, which is fueled by secrecy and supposedly leads to conflict and decay. And then there's the path of contact, which is said to open the door to a future with things like clean energy, incredible science, and a truly peaceful global civilization.
And that really leaves us with this one big question, a question at the very heart of this whole thing. If it's true, as the source claims, that the truth is being hidden behind a fog of fear, what does it actually take for any of us to see clearly?